Every week on Louisiana Speaks, we plan to bring you interviews with newsmakers and important voices across the state. Our first Louisiana Speaks interview is Richard Nelson, who generated buzz as the youngest gubernatorial candidate last fall. Now Nelson has been tapped by the incoming governor as the new Secretary of Louisiana's Department of Revenue. We sat down with Nelson to hear his plans for this important position. All right, so first off, I just want to say congratulations for being appointed the Secretary of the Department of Revenue. And I just want to know, was this a shock? Did this come as a surprise to you whenever you got this appointment?
It wasn't a total shock. I mean, I'd been in negotiations or discussions with the governor-elect when as soon as he got elected, he was looking to build a team, and I'd been in contact with him. So it wasn't totally, totally out of right field, but it was, a pleasant surprise to some extent too.
Yeah, so how are you feeling? Are you feeling confident about it? Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, obviously I ran against the governor-elect. I was part of, one of his opponents, but, I made a platform of my campaign trying to make some big tax changes. And so it was something that I've looked into a lot in my time in the legislature. And I think it's really one of these things that really is a stumbling block for Louisiana as far as, trying to keep people here in the state and trying to attract companies to come here. I think those tax problems are one of the things holding us back. And so I made that a big part of my campaign. And I think the governor-elect Landry saw that and, saw I had some expertise in that area. And so he really put some confidence in me to try and fix it.
So I do remember from your campaign, you did talk a lot about the state income tax and how you wanted to reform that going forward. But what are your other goals whenever it comes to having this position? What do you want to achieve? Sure.
So I think, the Department of Revenue is responsible for collecting basically all the money that runs the state. We have some challenges that are really pending. We have a 0.45% state sales tax is about to roll off in 2025, which will cost us about $500 million. And so no matter what happens, we have to figure out how we're going to address that, outside of these broader problems. A few years ago when Governor Edwards took over, that was really one of the big issues that they had to deal with. And so coming up next year, we're going to face a challenge to see how we're going to fix that. I think there's some other things that are more the nuts and bolts of the department to make sure it's, I would say, more customer service friendly, treating the citizens like customers versus, defendants. We don't really want that mindset in the department. And so I think it's really just a question of how do we best serve the citizens of the state? How do we put some policies in place to make us more competitive moving forward? And, how do we just make it work better for everybody?
So you mentioned this earlier. Your name is going to be familiar to a lot of people, a lot of the electorate, because you did run for governor in this past governor's race.
Really, I saw there was not really a path, and so I saw that Governor-elect Landry had a good advantage, and I think he and I shared a lot of the same ideas especially on this tax and fiscal piece and what needs to be done. And so I thought that would be the best thing for everybody if I didn't just run it into the ground essentially, and I could see where the writing was going, and so I thought, based on the things that I stood for and the things that Governor-elect Landry had worked for, I think we could have, saw some common ground in that, and I figured that'd be the best for everybody.
And you're also fairly young. You're one of a few millennials that are holding this a political position in Louisiana. And I'm just curious, how do you think your youth is going to be able to be an asset in this position that you're about to take on?
So yeah, I'm 37. I get a variety of ranges of how old people think I am based on it. I tell people I look older in person, don't worry. But I think in reality, this is, people my age are the ones that are leaving the state. They are finding jobs everywhere else. They're saying, I want to raise my family somewhere else because I think they have more opportunity. So I think I can attest to that from personal experience. I mean, I left after I graduated from law school at LSU. I left and joined the Foreign Service of the State Department, moved all around the world, and then made the conscious decision with my wife to move back here because we wanted to raise our kids here. And I think a lot of people are in that position where they've left or they're considering leaving, but they want more opportunity here. So I really have firsthand knowledge of what that decision looks like what you need in order to keep people here. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge our state is facing is how do we keep people here? How do we attract people here? And, how do we make sure that Louisiana serves everybody and it's someplace where we can raise our kids and, not feel like we're sacrificing opportunity for them.
So really it's like bringing a fresh start, a fresh perspective, basically.
Absolutely. And I think, being younger, you're not really, tethered to the way things have always been done. I mean, I don't think that that's a really good argument on continuing that forward. I think we can all look at Louisiana and admit that the government has not really served anybody very well. And so it's really in need of some big changes. And I think, being a little younger, I think, leans me to being a man of action and not saying, let's rest on what we've done for a long time, just for no reason but inertia. And I think that that's something else I bring to the table.
Yeah, so definitely an advantage for you. So focusing on the fiscal cliff. So is there anything else that you'd like to talk about your new position and the new administration? Anything?
You know, I think one of the things Louisiana really needs is hope. I think that's something that's been lacking for a long time, that really people want to see things moving in the right direction. And I think that that's something we're going to bring with the new administration is really this, like I said, about bias toward action to try and make things better and, you know, really make some of these big decisions that people have been kicking the can down the road are really putting off. I think maybe if we can just focus on making those big things so people can see that there's a future here, they can keep their families here, they can move here. And I think that's going to really turn Louisiana around. And I think having a new administration is going to be a really big opportunity, one of the best opportunities we've ever had. We really have a super majority of Republicans in both houses of the legislature. We got a Republican governor, so really there's no excuse for not making big changes. We really have all the pieces in place, and now we really just have to execute it.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to see what you'll do.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.